This video is about painting in watercolors and about a remarkable species of butterfly whose close relatives are found in virtually every part of the world. In a broader context, it also touches on some of the ways insects and other creatures have adapted to their environments through very specific strategies of survival. One of these strategies is mimicry. The evolution of mimicry is often complex and takes considerable observation and thought to figure out its purpose and its variations. I've chosen as an example a swallowtail butterfly that lives in Africa. I used to see it a lot when I worked there, but wasn't aware of its evolution until later. This wonderful book, put out in the mid-1970s using specimens at the British Museum of Natural History, promises over 5,000 colored illustrations of butterflies, and it delivers. This much smaller book served as my field guide when we were in West Africa, also in the mid-70s. In my spare time, my hobby was chasing down butterflies. I found that some were easy to catch or trap, while others required the patience, speed, and guile that only a dedicated entomologist or an obsessive madman could assemble. I was never sure at any given time where I fell in that classification. I think it might have been Oscar Wilde who said that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I think he tagged on a couple of other words, but I forget what they were, and apparently someone else said it before him anyway, so I don't know about that. But here I'm going to take a look at imitation or mimicry in the natural world, and specifically the swallowtail butterflies, whose surname is PAPILIO. As we'll see, mimicry in the natural world can be for various purposes. One purpose is to hide in the background, camouflage, for fear of prowling enemies or predators. We all know the stick insect, and some caterpillars resemble twigs, bark, leaves, flowers, or even bird droppings. Some moths and butterflies mimic large predators like birds to make them appear as even larger predators, which scares away the bird in the mistaken belief that what they thought was their supper might actually turn around and eat them. But the swallowtails I'm going to talk about have other reasons for using mimicry besides melding into the background or looking really scary. For this piece, I've chosen watercolors as a medium. I'm using Arches 140-pound watercolor paper, medium roughness. I'll be using a number of pigments which are listed on my website. I've chosen 2 flat brushes, 1 round brush, also described on my website. Other materials include an HB pencil, palette of your choice, and a board for mounting the paper. The procedure is simple, just a preliminary sketch and then painting in the shapes and wing patterns. So I'll describe just by showing, and in the process I'll talk about this amazing genus of butterflies. The species Papilio dardanus was dubbed the most interesting butterfly in the world by the great lepidopterist Dr. Poulton in a paper submitted in 1924. Butterfly enthusiasts of the 1800s have been puzzled on beholding mating between what appeared to be insects of 2 entirely different species, in blatant violation of biological paradigms, especially after Darwin. Many species of bug or butterfly or beetle have evolved to contain some terrible substance that their predators will find toxic or noxious in some way. Over time, the predators learn to avoid such nasty food items and henceforth strike that morsel out of their diet. This isn't going to work, however, where the substance is fatally toxic, because insects don't have a well-developed learning apparatus, and in any case, the predator who falls over and dies won't be getting a second chance to dine more selectively. The genes of the unlucky predator will not pass into the next generation, and over a very long time period, predator species evolved instinct to just avoid such noxious items altogether. Now, if you are the prey insect, it does you no good to have poisoned or nauseated the next predator that comes along, not unless you have a good warning system to stave off the predator in the first place. That's why a lot of insects who are very distasteful or downright toxic are brightly colored or have distinct patterns that warn off their predators before they get in gobbling range. But there are always those who will crash the party. Bothered by the same predators, these newbies have envied what a good thing the toxic species have going in the way of protection, and they would like in. Rather than develop their own noxious chemicals, these prey insects take on the strategy of fooling predators into thinking they are actually a member of the toxic species. To do this, they've evolved their own disguise of bright colors and easily detected patterns, very close to the original prey species, which we can call the mimicry model. This happens because the bugs or butterflies who don't fool the predator will never see any children or grandchildren, and after thousands of generations, the mimicry gene becomes dominant in the population. One of the clearest examples is in the genus PAPILIO, and what I've been painting is the male PAPILIO butterfly. The genus PAPILIO contains hundreds of species. One of them is Papilio dardanus, which I used to observe nearly every day when I worked in the bush of West Africa. Dimorphism, that is, the existence of more than one form of a species, is common in the insect world. It is always for a purpose. What I'm painting now is the normal female of Papilio dardanus. Luckily, by fortune or by evolution, the normal female resembles another butterfly family, the Danaids, known to science and feared by predators alike for their toxicity, which can range from a severe stomachache or, for some predators, can result in death, which might be even worse. Other families possess a soft, almost rubbery body that is impossible to chew and not worth a predator's effort in the chase. But just when we thought it was simple, there's a wrinkle, and it's not a small one. Apparently, male Papilio dardanus have a reputation for rough love. Such is the passion of the male butterfly, in fact, that he might inadvertently debilitate or even slay the female during the process. So, ever able to outwit their husbands, the dardanus females of the Papilio family have gotten together by themselves in some areas and worked out a solution, and it doesn't even involve the use of a court-ordered restraining order. Over thousands of generations, these females have developed their own theater of mimicry. In short, a wardrobe that mimics their own overzealous boyfriends. Yes, they mimic the same males who thought nothing of the consequences during their reproductive ecstasies in damaging, dismembering, or even killing their own brides. Seeing a butterfly looking very much like himself, the typical male would simply pass by without so much as a tip of the wings. Brilliant! No more subjecting one's female self to injury during a wild orgy of mating. How they must chuckle as they fly past a swarm of males who are grumbling about how it used to be in the old days, and how in these reckless times females are taking altogether too many liberties. But as the burgeoning proportion of male-mimicking ladies soon found out, there was a catch even to this gender-specific revolution. They began to get picked off by the predators again. Dang! No predator in the world is choosy about whether they consume a male or a female. No nutritional chauvinism here. It's all high in protein and carbs and vitamins and essential amino acids, no matter the gender. So, in an evolutionary sense, they sat down and had a summit. How to dress to frustrate an overly zealous mate of their species while appearing disgusting to predators, along with a model species who looked quite different from Ms. PAPILIO's horde of male suitors. There was no clear answer, no wardrobe that fitted both survival strategies at once. The outcome was a compromise, and one worthy of King Solomon's solution to the disputed biblical infant with two mothers. If Yogi Berra were around, he would have said that when you reach a fork in the road, take it. Though I've heard Yogi was actually describing how to get to his winter place at the time. Anyway, some chose to avoid over-enthusiastic amorous encounters with males, while others selected the trail away from hungry predators. So now we have two female subspecies, one resembling the male counterpart, perfectly yellow, with very near the same dark spatters on the wings. The other resembles a butterfly of an entirely different genus, one of the pretty but deadly Danaid family, the toxic avengers of the butterfly world. So right up to today, we have two divergent evolutionary highways. No wonder lepidopterists of the 19th century had been puzzled. It was left to Poulton to deduce that subgroups of these species selected entirely different paths and disguises, one line of camouflage to prevent being eaten by predators, the other to evade equally perilous pursuits by amorous male suitors of their own species. But things are different depending on where you call home. A certain province of females decided they preferred another model to mimic. There are speculations as to why, but it may simply have been that a certain province wished to strike out on their own, be original. It might also have been that where they lived, there was a shortage of the old noxious model to mimic and an abundance of a new and different one. You've probably heard of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, this type of mimicry isn't for blending in with the background. It's a clear attempt to appear dangerous and a veritable sheep in wolf's clothing. So those papilios who have determined they're staying in the mating game, never mind the harassment, and who want it to avoid being swooped up into the crop of a predatory bird, these butterflies go into the makeup room with the aim of appearing like those damnable, toxic, and very durable Danaides. So it turns out that Papilio worldwide embraces half a dozen more mimetic females, each masquerading around as three different models. Do the infant butterflies ever emerge from their cocoons, blink their eyes, and wonder as to the genetic free-for-all leading to their legacy? Getting back to the males, you wouldn't believe the kind of things these guys are into. These swallowtail men have another pastime, apart from outflying predators or engaging in fertilizing eggs. They like to gather together for a drink around the perimeter of mud puddles. I used to see them every time I walked to a study site along the Mungo River, perched along the water's edge, quivering their wings in what might be an effort to keep their engines warm in case a predatory bird or an enticing female of their own species came along. More recently, though, I've learned that they aren't there just for a drink and a chat. It's the tiny quantities of salt they're after. Salt that's left on the sand when the puddle shrinks and the shoreline recedes. And this is where I get to the really romantic and compelling part of this story. It seems the male Papilio hoards away the salt and takes it with him when he finally leaves the puddle pub. And you know what he uses it for? Perhaps as a bribe, maybe as a sort of preemptive apology for any harm that may come to her when they mate, he offers it to the female before the entanglements of the imminent love dance. He does it the only way he's equipped to, by regurgitation. It's good for the children, he whispers, with salt and essential amino acids. Thus is his awkward expression of his regrets that evolution, the ultimate cosmic crapshoot, has made all of their lives and their identities so bewildering.